I genuinely thought this house could be another really good contender. A warm, cosy cottage at the end of a track, big skies, barn space, and land for the dogs. But there were two big red flags I couldn't ignore, and one of them might surprise you. And before people say I should check what's there before I go and view and waste the owner's time, well, you can't. They don't tell you in the marketing information. The only way to see is to be there and do the viewing in person and ask the pertinent questions. If you're new here, hello. I've been living full-time in my tiny caravan with 2 dogs travelling Scotland and Northern England looking for a small house with a decent garden and some kind of workshop. I've got my pot of money, but a fixed budget, and I don't really want to raid my pension too hard because I've got 6 years until I retire on a small pension. So every time I fall for a house, I have to ask 2 questions. Number 1, does it fit the numbers? Good sign in the background by my dog. Number 2, can future me still sell it and move if my health changes? So this Croft ticked so many boxes. And you can imagine I got absolutely giddy with excitement. And then failed on those 2. The Croft is tucked right at the end of a track going up Fishery Moss in Aberdeenshire. The last stretch is what I'd call classic rural Scottish track. Some potholes, a bit wet in places, but the seller's solicitor had checked there's a proper right of access in the old paperwork, which is important when you don't actually own the lane. When you arrive, though, it's pretty magical. Big open views, barely any road noise, just birds and wind and the odd tractor. On paper, it's a small cottage with land and buildings. In reality, it felt like a whole world at the end of the lane. Inside the house, cosy, extremely well done, but small. The house is actually very simple, but beautiful. A classic little button ben that the current owner has really put his heart into. The EP looks scary on paper, but the reality was very different. The lounge and bedroom walls have been taken right back to the masonry, then rebuilt with damp-proof membranes, air gaps, insulation, foil, new stud walls and fresh plaster. No damp lives here. You can feel when you walk in. It was toasty, underfloor heating. Even the wild weather outside didn't make it feel cold in.
Smaller than it is because there's quite a bit of furniture, but you could get
Stuff you can put it in storage. Or
that. They are these 2.
the kitchen and shower room are completely new, and the sellers carefully kept the character bits like the doors and some flooring. The trade-off is size. There isn't loads of internal space. For me, that's not a deal breaker. I'd planned to use the small bedroom as a music room and lean heavily on the sheds for storage. But it's definitely a cosy house, not a big farmhouse. The home report didn't flag any horror story structural issues on the house itself. Most of the bigger concerns were about the outbuildings rather than the cottage, although probably quite expensive to run. One thing that really impressed me here was the boring but important stuff. The water is from private supply, but it's probably one of the best specified systems I've seen so far. There's a well at the lower boundary, an 800-litre holding tank and a proper pump, multiple filtration stages, a softener, a UV treatment before it ever reaches the taps. There's a hot and cold tap outside, luxury when cleaning the dogs up. It even backwashes itself once a week. The septic tank is big.
That's the septic tank.
Uh-huh.
It's massive. You'll never have to empty it. And we've got stuff called muck munchers that we put down monthly. That's what it's called. And you put it down the toilet at night, and then in the morning you got to flush your toilet, and it keeps the enzymes working.
Stone lined and has new pipework put in. The owner actually showed me exactly where it runs, which is rare.
Across there, so it's just the water now. Goes down there.
What's the pipe made of? PVC sort of
It's
thing
that.
or something? Oh, I got you. Like
It's proper, proper
I'm with you.
underground waste.
He also put in a deep French drain along the worst-affected gable, tying the roof water into the field drains and an eco pond. So water is being taken away from the house, not just dumped at the foot of the wall. And he's also on a smart meter with Octopus, EE4G for now, and fibre is due to come to the houses next year. So from a practical point of view, it's far from a primitive off-grid shack. It's actually very thoughtfully set up. The barn and outbuildings, dream versus cost. Where things get interesting and sadly expensive is outside. There's a long barn attached or very close to the house, several sheds, a big workshop building, and even an external cabin that could be used as a studio or spare bedroom one day. In my head, you can probably imagine what happened. Perfect. I'll have a workshop, a studio, storage, and a place for guests. Yeah, I mean, it sounds bizarre, but it's kind of the... But the reality and the home report tell a slightly different story. The main barn is standing, but the old roof is corrugated tin, with visible holes and leaks. One wall is bowing with gaps where stones have gone missing. One end is currently a tarpaulin instead of proper doors. The electrics are partly upgraded. There's a new cable from the house, lights and a consumer unit, but only one double socket. To turn every one bay of this into a safe, dry workshop, you're realistically looking at structural repairs and repointing, a brand new insulated roof, proper doors and windows, and a bit more electrical work. I'd love this project, but it isn't cheap. Even doing a lot of the work myself, I'd be budgeting in the £10,000 to £20,000 range over a few years just for the barn and track and parking, before I even think about making it pretty. There are other usable sheds, one bright workshop space with a new window and wiring, and a little cabin that just needs insulating. So it's not like I'd have nothing to do. But the barn is the big ticket item. The other thing I had to factor in here was the neighbouring field. The previous owner of this croft still lives beyond the boundary, on land she kept, in a small cluster of old caravans, with her animals. She's been there a long time, she's very independent, she sounds like a very good character, and she clearly loves the place. I'm not going to show that in detail on camera, it's her home and her privacy. But from a buyer's point of view, it does raise a couple of questions. How future buyers might feel about a little caravan settlement next door, and what happens if her health changes over the next 5 to 10 years. Mind you, I have to think The same thing for myself. I'd worry. I'd want to help, and I'd also be trying to sell a house with that very visible next door. For some people, it's quirky and fine. For others, it's an instant no. With my limited budget and the need to be able to move again in future if my health changes, I have to be really careful about anything that might make resale harder.
I showed them exactly where it was. And I couldn't find, there's no pipe, and I dug all the way down there.
So why didn't I go for it? On the emotional side, the Croft was probably 90% there for me. I loved the feel of the house, the way the owner had thought about the water and drains, the wildlife and the sense of peace.
Yeah, you got. What species are these then? Is that ash? Yeah, it looks like ash, doesn't it?
Yeah, because that one's over there's dead. The first one's dead.
Yeah.
But the rest are all.
Do you get much wildlife then, or?
Oh, we love it here.
You do, even though because it's quite moorland-like, isn't it?
Yeah, that's.
And the sheer scale of 4 acres of land. But when I sat down with the numbers, it just didn't work without borrowing quite a bit from future me. I've got my budget. Most people know what that is. Out of that, I really need to keep aside roughly a year's living costs while I get myself together and think about work or other employment opportunities, a sensible renovation budget, and moving costs and fees. That means realistically the purchase price for me needs to sit probably below £200,000, unless something is absolutely perfect and doesn't need work. Here comes compromise again. By the time I'd allowed for barn repairs, track and parking improvements, and a bit of contingency for the sheds, this Croft would have pushed me well above and into my pension, basically. And if I'm going to nibble away at my pension, it has to be for a house that doesn't come with a built-in resale question mark next door. In the end, head won, just. I was so excited, and it was a massive disappointment to go through things and apply common sense. I emailed the agent to say how much I admire the work the owner's done here, because he has. Well, he and his partner have. But also that the numbers plus that neighbouring field were red flags I couldn't ignore. I'd be living in cloud cuckoo land if I did. So another heartbreaking situation. But I'll plough on, and if you're interested, please continue and watch my journey. There'll be one out there for me. It might take a while to find it, but we will. Until next time.